if we look to the answer as to why for so many years we achieved so much, prospered as no other people on earth, it was because here in this land we unleashed the energy and individual genius of man to a greater extent than has ever been done before. Freedom and the dignity of the individual have been more available and assured here than in any other place on earth. The price for this freedom at times has been high, but we have never been unwilling to pay that price. Those who say that we're in a time when there are no heroes, they just don't know where to look. The sloping hills of Arlington National Cemetery, with its row upon row of simple white markers bearing crosses or stars of David, they add up to only a tiny fraction of the price that has been paid for our freedom. Each one of those markers is a monument to the kind of hero I spoke of earlier. Their lives ended in places called Belleau Wood, the Argonne, Omaha Beach, Salerno, and halfway around the world on Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Pork Chop Hill, the Chosin Reservoir, and in 100 rice paddies and jungles of a place called Vietnam. Under one such marker lies a young man, Martin Treptow, who left his job in a small-town barber shop in 1917 to go to France with the famed Rainbow Division. There on the Western Front, he was killed trying to carry a message between battalions under heavy artillery fire. We're told that on his body was found a diary. On the flyleaf, under the heading, My Pledge, he had written these words: America must win this war. Therefore I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, I will endure. I will fight cheerfully and do my utmost as if the issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone. We must realize that no arsenal or no weapon in the arsenals of the world is so formidable as the will and moral courage of free men and women. It is a weapon our adversaries in today's world do not have. It is a weapon that we as Americans do have. Let that be understood by those who practice terrorism and prey upon their neighbors. As for the enemies of freedom, those who are potential adversaries, they will be reminded that peace is the highest aspiration of the American people. We will negotiate for it, sacrifice for it. We will not surrender for it now or ever. We are Americans.
Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony will begin in 2 minutes. Please turn off all electronic devices or set to vibrate mode at this time. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, family and friends. Welcome to Bravo Battery, 1st Battalion, 31st Field Artillery Basic Combat Training Graduation Ceremony. Today marks the successful completion of the demanding requirements of 9.5 weeks of rigorous Army combat basic training. This graduation is your special event to share with your soldier. You are invited to move about and take pictures as you like, but please do not interfere with the movement of the soldiers to and from their seats.
Oh!
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the invocation by the 1st Battalion, 31st Field Artillery Chaplain, Captain Waduai.
Let us pray. I lift up my eyes to the hill, from whence cometh my help. My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not suffer my feet to be moved. He who watches over me will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. Thank you, Almighty God, for the lives of our graduating soldiers, our cadres, their families, and our leaders. Be with us today. Bless and inspire every one of us to do great and mighty things for this great country, the United States of America. We pray in your great and mighty name. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the playing of the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce the commander of Bravo Battery, 1st Battalion, 31st Field Artillery, Captain Miller.
Good morning. Colonel Kanzi, Command Sergeant Major Harden, Lieutenant Colonel Alexander, Command Sergeant Major Rankins, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am Captain Miller, and I am an American soldier. On behalf of the Fort Sill Command Team, welcome to Fort Sill, the 434th Field Artillery Brigade, and the Bravo Battery, 1st Battalion, 31st Field Artillery graduation ceremony. Thank you all for coming today, joining us today as we commemorate the accomplishments of your warriors and our newest American soldiers. Before we continue to move forward in celebration of the Army's next generation, we must take time to honor those who have served before us. Would the military veterans and those currently serving that are seated among us please stand to be recognized. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in a round of applause for our military veterans. Thank you for all you have done. 10 weeks ago, these 205 warriors seated before you left home, many for the first time, to become part of something bigger than themselves. Although they arrived as individuals, they are leaving as members of a time-honored team. They have worked and succeeded in every task that was put before them because failure wasn't an option. As they tell you, it takes more than boots and a uniform to make an American soldier. They have been instilled with the fundamentals of discipline and embodied the core Army values of loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. These fundamentals and values are acquired and put into practice every day through tough, realistic, and safe training. You may have already heard the stories about the sting of the gas chamber, the nervousness of throwing a live hand grenade, the anxiety of rappelling from Treadwell Tower, or the pride of passing the final Army physical fitness test. These stories are just a small representation of their overall experience. In just over 67 days, they trained on 3 different weapon systems, marched for more than 90 kilometers, learned how to perform life-saving measures, and experienced the beautiful, ever-changing weather of Oklahoma. Every training event is a building block towards forming a foundation of skills that these soldiers will use in everyday life and combat. They have shaped these skills by training like their lives and the lives of their battle buddies depended on it. Furthermore, they understand that the soldier's creed and warrior ethos are not just words to memorize, but words that American soldiers live by. These soldiers have met every challenge head-on and succeeded due in large part to the positive leadership and demanding environment created by our Army's finest non-commissioned officers. These outstanding coaches, mentors, and role models taught your soldiers the meaning of discipline and teamwork. The drill sergeant's professionalism, competence, and dedication to standards have made a lifelong impression on your soldiers. More importantly, these soldiers would not be here today if it were not for the undying love and support of the family and friends. I applaud you all and ask that you continue to support your soldiers throughout their military careers. They became American soldiers for you, their family and friends. Soldiers of Bravo Battery, I extend my gratitude for the sacrifices you have made to become American soldiers during a time of war. By taking this courageous step at a dangerous time in our history, you have truly set yourself apart from your fellow citizens as defenders of freedom and the American way of life. You are all well trained. You are all mentally, physically, and emotionally tough. I would be honored to lead each and every one of you on today's battlefield. Godspeed and good luck. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a round of applause for our newest American soldiers. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, First Sergeant Brian L. Clark. First Sergeant Clark currently serves as the NCOA Senior Leaders Course Branch Chief. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome First Sergeant Brian L. Clark.
Good morning. Colonel Cosney, Command Sergeant Major Harding, Lieutenant Colonel Alexander, Command Sergeant Major Rankin, First Sergeant Timmy, drill sergeants, family, friends, and the soldiers of the Initial Entry Training Graduating Class 62-18 of Bravo Battery, 1st Battalion, 31st Field Artillery. I would like to extend a very special thank you to all of the family members that have traveled to be here for this moment in their soldier's life. I would like to extend my gratitude to the drill sergeants. These great non-commissioned officers have spent countless hours training these fine soldiers seated here today. Their charge is extremely difficult. Training and molding our nation's young men and women, I often think about my drill sergeant 17 years ago, and I still shake. But don't test me. Take a look in these seats, ladies and gentlemen. Take a long, hard look. What you see seated here today is representative of the noble strike of our society. These new men and women and their drill sergeants are our 21st century soldiers. They are an element of that small population that guards the national wall of defense, and they are the best. As arrogant as this may sound, It is what makes them better than the average young man or woman. Not better in a material, snide, or arrogant sort of way, but doing something better than hanging out on the block, talking and criticizing. Anyone can talk about what should be done, but most won't do anything about it. You see this sort of thing every day on your television screens. People with fancy titles, big shot experts. They are always ready to give advice, but never ready to pick up an M4 rifle, ruck up, and close with the enemy. For my money, there are two types of people. The ones that walk this earth, men and women of action, and all others. What you see here are soldiers who chose the Army, which says a lot about their character. To do this when so many others wouldn't or just quit says a lot about their hearts, love for their families, and ability to see the larger picture. Their moral clarity won't allow them to sit back and have someone else provide the blanket of freedom that so many of us here cherish and so many others take for granted. You are looking at the newest members of that band of brotherhood that this Army is. These soldiers are the substance behind the policy undertaken by this country deemed necessary to move men and women into harm's way. When democracy has failed, negotiations has ceased. National policy, the reasons for enlisting to the Army is varied and often deeply personal, but it's truly what makes them the best and brightest that we have in this country. And I'm not saying that to be nice. I say it because I fervently believe it. The best and the brightest are not necessarily on campus, Wall Street, or a corporate boardroom right now. The best are what you see seated here today. Soldiers, don't ever think for 1 minute that the kids running around on campus protesting, breaking things, or whining about this, that, or the other have anything on you. You are privileged to know things. You will know. You will have facts about copious amounts of things going on in Iraq or Afghanistan and many other places. Your head will not be filled with empty theories of those who know very little because they lack the intestinal fortitude to commit to anything bigger than themselves. I'm speaking of the snide, arrogant sort who spends the day blaming America for every wrongdoing in the world before going home at night to sleep under that blanket of freedom provided by better men and women. Better men and women just like you. What lies ahead for you will be tremendously challenging. Life as a soldier is not and will never be easy. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. For most of you, this will be the defining chapter in your lives. The vast majority of your drill sergeants, first sergeants, and company commanders have been to the battlefield. They know what awaits, and that fact cannot be overstated. The fact that you did all those push-ups and will do thousands more. The multiple ruck marches you had, and you will ruck many more. All of the rounds you had fired was not a waste of time. It was preparing you for life as we know, and you will soon find out, the life of a soldier. Understand, this is a career that you chose. Let me say that again. This is a career that you chose. You will hold more responsibility in the next few years than most people will do in their lifetime. And you will be that beacon of light, not just for your family, but for the American people. Over the past few months, you have found out more and more about yourself every day. Strengths, weaknesses. My challenge for all of you as you embark on your new career is dare to be great. Have a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth. Always feel that you count, always feel that you have worth, and always know that you have ultimate significance to this Army. Have a deep determination to achieve excellence and greatness in your various fields. In closing, remember dreams without goals are just dreams that will ultimately result in disappointment. It has been an honor and privilege speaking to you today. It's been a long time. Let's graduate.
Thank you, First Sergeant Clark. In keeping with the 434th Field Artillery Brigade's policy of recognizing superior performance, awards will be presented to those soldiers that have distinguished themselves during the training cycle. Again, ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to come forward and take pictures at any time, but please do not interfere with the movement of the soldiers to and from their seats. The Distinguished Honor Graduate of the Cycle Award is presented to the soldier who demonstrates overall excellence in training and character development throughout the training cycle. This cycle's Distinguished Honor Graduate is
Specialist Carly Worth, Dixon, Missouri.
The Basic Rifle Marksmanship Award is presented to the soldier that attains the highest score during live fire qualification with the M16A2 rifle. This cycle's recipient scored 37 hits out of 40. The Marksmanship Award is presented to
Private Race Garcia, San Antonio, Texas.
The Physical Fitness Award is presented to the soldier who had achieved the highest score on the final Army Physical Fitness Test. This cycle's recipient scored 313 out of 300 possible points on the extended scale. This award is presented to
Private Nicholas Martz, Tampa, Florida.
Sergeant William T. Lesh served in Alpha Battery, 321st Field Artillery, 82nd Division of the American Expeditionary Forces during World War I. Sergeant Lesh was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross for his action on October 14, 1918. While in command of his artillery section, Sergeant Lesh was wounded by a shell fragment during heavy fighting near Summits, France. After having his wound dressed at the first aid station, he refused evacuation and continued to exercise command of his section for the remainder of the day. His bravery, aggressiveness, and devotion to duty greatly inspires the soldiers around him. The 1st Battalion, 31st Field Artillery Barracks are named in his honor. The Sergeant William T. Lesh Award is presented to
Private Aislinn Love, Charlotte, Montana.
The following soldiers are designated as honor graduates. Their superior performance has placed them in the top 10% of their graduating class. These soldiers have received a letter of commendation from the 1st Battalion, 31st Field Artillery Battalion Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Alexander, which has been placed in their official files. We ask that you please hold your applause until all honor graduates have been recognized. The honor graduates of Class 6218 are
Private Wesley Beverly, Cameron, North Carolina.
Private Andre Blackburn, Oceanside, California.
Private Christopher Bonnet, Galveston, Texas.
Private Isaac Causey, Newton, Texas.
Private Dominic D'Alessandro, Dalton, Ohio.
Private First Class Luis Garcia, Compton, California.
Specialist Nicole Hancock, Magnolia, Texas. Private Krista Hood, Austin, Texas.
Private Race King, Strasburg, Ohio.
Private Jason Landfried, Collinsville, Illinois.
Private Marquise McKinney, Baltimore, Maryland.
Private First Class Lindsay Meyer, Noble, Oklahoma.
Private First Class Luis Montañez, Bayamón, Puerto Rico.
Private Julian Ponce, Ventura, California.
Private Bryn Nielsen, Ubley, Michigan.
Private Zamik Bryce, West Point, Mississippi.
Private Demetrius Simmons, Orlando, Florida.
Private Nathan Trevino, Charleston, South Carolina.
exceptional soldiers a round of applause. Now for the rest of the graduating class 6218. Please hold your applause until all soldiers have crossed the stage. During the training cycle, there are certain standards that have to be met in order to be distinguished as honor platoon. For Class 6218, 4th Platoon has met these standards and is distinguished as Honor Platoon. 4th Platoon is led by their Senior Drill Sergeant.
Staff Sergeant Benjamin Cardozo, Houston, Texas.
The graduates of 4th Platoon Death Dealers are
Private First Class Abby Nelson, Lino Lakes, Minnesota.
Private Caitlin Norton, Thompson, Connecticut.
Private Raquel Ortiz, Tucson, Arizona. Private Leslie Ponce, Norwich, Kansas. Private Anna Quinnell, Tucson, Arizona.
Private Cesar Ramos, Los Angeles, California.
Private Sharon Ray, Tampa, Florida.
Private First Class Ryan Reams, Austin, Texas.
Private Donna Record, Jacksonville, Florida.
Private Bryce Redash, Raleigh, North Carolina.
Private First Class Fujiyama Rice, Indianola, Mississippi.
Private First Class Maxwell Rosenmeyer, Lake St. Croix Beach, Minnesota.
Private Ricky Roche, Racine, Wisconsin.
Private Jeffrey Russ, Burnett, Texas.
Private Brandon Santos, San Diego, California.
Private Brandon Schroeder, Carthage, North Carolina.
Private Brady Smith, Gallipolis, Ohio.
Private Braxton Smith, Layton, Utah.
Private Cater Smith, Boise, Idaho.
Private Preston Sosa, Austin, Texas.
Private Tim Stewart, Blanchard, Oklahoma.
Private Travis Strange, Ocoee, Florida.
Private George Tabor, Atlanta, Georgia.
Specialist Sarah Taylor, Glenelg, Arizona.
Private Garrett Thurston, Saranac Lake, New York.
Private Luis Urrutia, Mercedes, Texas.
Private Alvin Baez, San Antonio, Texas.
Private Jackie Vang, Glenwood City, Wisconsin.
Private Noe Verduzco, Long Beach, California.
Private Darius Villapando, Wichita Falls, Texas.
Private Jonathan Vadez, Stamford, Connecticut.
Private Taylor Walden, Kokomo, Indiana.
Private Gabriel Walker, Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Private First Class Trevor Walker, Vacaville, California.
Private First Class Charles Whaley, Clarksburg, West Virginia.
Private First Class Christopher White, Warren, Pennsylvania.
Private Eric Wilborn, Chester, Virginia.
Private Lyle Williams, Bronx, New York.
Private Carlton Wilson, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Private Adarius Yancey, Auburn, Alabama.
Private Caleb Young, High Ridge, Missouri.
Private Alex Zamilpa, San Antonio, Texas.
First platoon is led by their senior drill sergeant.
Sergeant First Class Robert Blanchard, Salem, Oregon.
The graduates of First Platoon regulators are
Private Liam Acton, Cincinnati, Ohio.
Private Aaron Adams, Muskogee, Oklahoma.
Private First Class Devin Adams, Eagan, Minnesota.
Private Taya Adams, Centennial, Colorado. Private Kayla Alsabrook, Mansfield, Texas.
Private Bradley Anderson, Russellville, Arkansas.
Private Charles Aristide, Fairfield, Connecticut.
Private Keandre Bailey, Mobile, Alabama.
Private Faith Barker, Trenton, Ohio. Private Jordan Blair, Palm City, Florida. Private Taylor Blasco, Peoria, Arizona.
Private Damiani Blaise, Queens, New York.
Private Melita Blue, Culpeper, Virginia.
Private Stephen Bowen, Canoga Park, California.
Private Simone Boyce, Boise, Idaho.
Private Heraclio Borjas, Roma, Texas.
Private Samantha Borf, Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Private Brian Bragg, Baltimore, Maryland.
Private Zach Brandt, Detroit Lakes, Minnesota.
Private Caitlin Brown, Killeen, Texas.
Private Cameron Brown, Kansas City, Missouri.
Private Keon Brown, Hawkinsville, Kentucky.
Private Tyler Brown, Jacksonville, Florida.
Private Nicholas Brownlee, Bell City, Alabama.
Private Nathaniel Buxton, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
Private Jonathan Cardenas, Houston, Texas.
Private Mason Carpenter, Groesbeck, Texas.
Private Cade Christensen, 29 Palms, California.
Private First Class Reese Clark, Graham, Minnesota.
Private Hayden Kobos, Salem, Oregon.
Private Joshua Cockman, Raleigh, North Carolina.
Private Christian Cooper, Hemet, California.
Private Jordan Cornish, Killeen, Texas.
Private Stafford Cox, Raleigh, North Carolina.
Private Dakota Crable, Dayton, Ohio.
Private Andres DeHaze, Tampa, Florida.
Private Austin Dilly, Choctaw, Oklahoma.
Private Brett Diver, Tampa, Florida.
Private Dylan Doucette, Lafayette, Louisiana.
Private Vincent Espinoza, Phoenix, Arizona.
Private Miles Fimbres, Oceanside, California.
Second platoon is led by their drill sergeant.
Staff Sergeant Ryan Homan, Hello, Texas.
The graduates of 2nd Platoon Wolfpack are
Private Sarah Codd, Spokane, Washington.
Private Ashley Cruz, Comerillo, Puerto Rico.
Private Shanna Daniel, San Angelo, Texas.
Private First Class Samantha Davis, Olympia, Washington.
Private Sigrid Dinarte, Oakland, California.
Private Desiree Fernandez, Ishpeming, Michigan.
Private First Class Marlon Flores, Houston, Texas.
Private Brittany Flynn, Rochester, New York.
Private Robert Francisco, McAllen, Texas.
Private Joseph Fricks, Rome, Georgia.
Private First Class Jeremiah Gatson, Evans, Georgia.
Private Angelique Garcia, Yuma, Arizona.
Private Isaiah Garcia, Weslaco, Texas.
Specialist Miguel Garcia, Nashua, New Hampshire.
Private Drake Garza, San Antonio, Texas.
Private Dennis Gogo, Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Private Esmeralda Gomez, Temple, Texas.
Private Juan Gonzalez, Abilene, Texas.
Private Skylar Gooden, Reno, Nevada.
Private Randall Grau, San Antonio, Texas.
Private First Class Jacob Hagan, Excelsior, Minnesota.
Private Bradley Hansel, Salt Lake City, Utah.
Private Cameron Harding, Olive Branch, Mississippi.
Private Gavin Hardman, Kansas City, Missouri.
Private James Harris, Kincaid, Illinois.
Private Monica Hernandez,
Waxahachie, Texas.
Private Kyle Howard, Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Private Noah Rubetz, Des Moines, Iowa.
Private Jawan Hunter, Dayton, Ohio.
Private Khadijah Inman, Hollywood, Florida.
Private Josue Iraeta, Pasadena, Texas.
Private Jarrell Jennings, Latonia, Georgia.
Private Charlton Johnson, Richton, Mississippi.
Private Elijah Johnson, San Germán, Puerto Rico.
Private Kyle Jones, Spencer, Massachusetts.
Private Nathan Jorgensen, Williston, North Dakota.
Private Walter King, Joshua, Texas.
Private Alexander Clapp, Centerview, Missouri.
Private First Class Gunnar Knudsen, Andover, Minnesota.
Specialist Likam Lee, Elko, Newmarket, Minnesota.
Private Stephen Lee, Annapolis, Maryland.
Private Samuel Lewis, Greer, South Carolina.
Private First Class Leslie Montan, Queens, New York.
Private First Class Sean White, St. Mary's, Ohio.
3rd Platoon is led by their senior drill sergeant.
Staff Sergeant Sabrina Grogans, Fullerton, California.
The graduates of 3rd Platoon Rough Riders are
Private Alexia Johnson, Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Private Lindsey Johnson, Clarksville, Tennessee.
Private Ashley King, Blacksburg, South Carolina.
Private First Class Emily Kunkel, Fort Thomas, Kentucky.
Private Raquel Laura Ortega, Los Angeles, California.
Private Stephanie Laura Sosa, Victorville, California.
Private Devon Lathavon, Bronx, New York.
Private First Class Marlena Lazenby, Richmond Hill, Georgia.
Private Jackie Love, Brooklyn, New York.
Private Christopher London, Savannah, Georgia.
Private Brandon Long, Charlottesville, Virginia.
Private Zechariah McCauley, Crescent, Texas.
Private Tyler Mack, Albany, New York.
Private Thomas Marker, Syracuse, New York.
Private Paul Marquez, Kennett, Missouri.
Private Demetrius Martin, Osceola, Georgia. Private Felipe Martinez, Glendale, Arizona.
Private Abdiel Martil, San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Private Matthew McCord, Scottsdale, Arizona.
Private Marcus McCormick, Puyallup, Washington.
Private Charlotte McFarland, Bay City, Michigan.
Private Dalen McGee, Lafayette, Louisiana.
Private First Class Benjamin Meadows, Auburn, Alabama.
Private First Class Joshua Mitchell, Richland, Mississippi.
Specialist Nauro Montano, Wilmington, California.
Private Max Mirandono, Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Private Robert Morgan, Jacksonville, Florida.
Private First Class Devon Morin, Palmer, Massachusetts.
Specialist Nathaniel Nelson, Slidell, Louisiana.
Private David Nieves, Middletown, New York.
Private Tyler Ock, Sauk Rapids, Minnesota.
Private Clement Oyederi, Sioux City, Iowa.
Private Stedman Paget, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Private Joseph Bentalion, North Branch, Minnesota.
Private John Carl Pashun, Wahiwa, Hawaii.
Specialist Sudesan Patak, Dallas, Texas.
Private Deshauntre Peavy, Fort Worth, Texas.
Private Victor Perez, San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Private Nicholas Patron, Wagner, South Carolina.
Private Isaiah Phillips, Riverside, California.
Private Wim Potter, San Francisco, California.
Private First Class Lucas Portel, Branson, Missouri.
Private Jimmy Price, West Point, Mississippi.
Private Kaylee Lewis, Mineral City, Ohio.
Please give all the soldiers of Bravo Battery a round of applause. At this time, the Distinguished Honor Graduate will present the guest speaker, First Sergeant Clark, with a certificate declaring him an honorary graduate of Class 6218. We will now present a brief video displaying some of the more memorable moments of this basic combat training cycle.
The soldiers we are honoring today would not be here if it were not for the efforts of the drill sergeant and battery cadre. These truly professional cadre members gave much of themselves and demonstrated great effort to prepare these soldiers to meet the challenges of military duty around the world. The cadre, which are the backbone of Bravo Battery, are Battery Executive Officer, First Lieutenant Crystal Green, First Sergeant Craig Timmy, Supply NCO, Sergeant Dewan Harris, Supply Specialist, Private Darren Smith, Training Technician, Mr. Juan Carlos Gonzalez. drill sergeants assist individuals in their efforts to become highly motivated, well-disciplined, physically and mentally fit soldiers capable of defeating any enemy on today's modern battlefield. The drill sergeants, who are the strength and support of Bravo Battery, are 1st Platoon Senior Drill Sergeant Robert Blanchin. 2nd Platoon Senior Drill Sergeant Ryan Homan, assisted by Drill Sergeant Atia Blackwell. 3rd Platoon Senior Drill Sergeant Sabrina Grogans, assisted by Drill Sergeant Wesley Sumaletu. 4th Platoon Senior Drill Sergeant Benjamin Cardoza, assisted by Drill Sergeant Vidal Cianez and Drill Sergeant Ashley McCurdy.
At this time, Captain Miller will come forward to present the Drill Sergeant of the Cycle Award. The Drill Sergeant of the Cycle Award is presented to the drill sergeant who has best displayed the qualities of leadership and devotion to duty during the training cycle. This award is presented to Drill Sergeant Ryan Homan. In recognition of his performance, Drill Sergeant Homan will receive an Army Achievement Medal and the Drill Sergeant of the Cycle Trophy. Sergeant Harris is now presenting a bouquet of flowers to Drill Sergeant Homan's wife, Christine Homan, for the moral support she has given to the battery and Drill Sergeant Homan during the training cycle. At this time, the 434th Brigade Command Team, Colonel Conzi and Command Sergeant Major Harding are presenting Drill Sergeant Homan with a 434th Field Artillery Brigade coin for excellence. Drill sergeants follow a set of fundamental beliefs that guide them in training soldiers. The principles are set forth in the Drill Sergeant Creed.
The Drill Sergeant Creed. I, the Drill Sergeant, I will assist each individual in their effort to become highly motivated, well-disciplined, physically and mentally fit soldiers capable of defeating any enemy on today's modern battlefield. I will instill pride in all I train, pride itself, in the Army, and in country. I will insist that each soldier meets and maintains the Army standard of military daring and courtesy, consistent with the high traditions of the U.S. Army. I will lead by example, never require a soldier to attempt any task I would not do myself. But first, last, and always, I am an American soldier, sworn to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. I am a drill sergeant.
Ladies and gentlemen, an American soldier's first act is to swear to defend our Constitution. Just as the Constitution of the United States is the cornerstone of our free society, the soldier's oath is the backbone of the Army's commitment to preserving it. Graduates, please stand for the reaffirming of your oath.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. I do solemnly swear. Do solemnly swear.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the singing of the Army song. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated while the graduates exit the building. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Thank you for attending.